Hello everyone, happy Monday. It's me again, Whimsy with Tarot with Whimsy, trying to do as many videos as I can before I hop on that plane on Saturday. Woo! It's going to be fun. And my trusty sidekick is here, Mila. As you can see, she is doing what she does best, sitting comfortably on the sofa and contemplating the ultimate reality. So there you go. All right, so now that my familiar is comfortable, we can go ahead and talk about the week that is coming up. I have a lot of questions from everybody, so we're going to go ahead and throw on everybody's questions. The first thing I wanted to talk about is a meditation that happened a couple of weeks ago. And it was the energy of attention. So it was this idea that the more attention we put on something, the more powerful it becomes, whether or not we're focusing on a particular candidate, the current administration. The more we talk about something, the more power we give the thing that we are talking about. And so there was a real awareness in the meditation I did a couple of weeks ago that if we want to create a beautiful world, if we want to create a world that reflects our value system, then that is what we really need to be focusing on in these channels. Practical ways that we can co-create a world that is worth living in, as opposed to focusing always on the destructive aspects of certain people who are in political office. So it's interesting. It almost feels like the current administration is a distraction from what's really going on in DC. And that seems to be that American voters are often we tend to vote for personalities or people we like or people that get us excited rather than dispassionately looking, being well informed about the issues and voting based on the issues. So while we're paying attention to the distraction, to the bright orange object, real policies are taking shape in DC that nobody's talking about and that are potentially pretty disturbing. So I think the purpose of this meditation for me was to just encourage myself and other readers to stop putting so much energy on this current administration and instead start putting energy towards the administration we want to collectively manifest. And that means being really clear about the world we want to co-create, because on a daily basis with our thoughts and our choices, we are co-creating the world we currently live in. And so in order to create that beautiful world, we have to dispassionately look at the candidates and figure out which candidates are going to best promote policies we support. Environmentally friendly policies, economic fairness in terms of wages, taxes, etc. So that was just something I wanted to get off my chest, was this idea that what we put attention to, we give power to. So if we give the current administration all this power, if we keep giving power, if we keep focusing on it, the fear is very empowering for bullies. They love fear. What bully doesn't want is a bully doesn't want to be ignored at the party. They don't want to be laughed at. They don't want to be insignificant, because bullies deep down think that they're nobody. Bullies deep down think they're losers. Bullies deep down think that they are nobodies. And so they're constantly creating this chaos and this attention-seeking behavior in order to avoid facing the fact that they're really a nobody. So the best way to react to the bully is to focus only on the policies, and we're battling policies and ignore the personalities. And I think in that way, the Democrats are going to be in a better position going forward, rather than just being completely soaked up and taken over by this administration. So power follows our thoughts, and if we ignore and stop giving power to certain personalities and instead focus solely on the issues, the distraction will become weaker. That was basically not to ignore the damage or the issues, ignore the personality, because the personality is just a distraction. The more we ignore the personality and instead focus on the world we want to create, the more the utopia can take shape. The utopia that we're trying to create can take shape. So people had asked me if I could talk about the fact that I felt like there was some major event that was going to take place. I don't know what I'm seeing, but it feels very like a shocking, violent military action. So, if somebody engages in a behavior that's violent or aggressive around us, we can usually feel it. We feel energetically our chakras get disturbed. We get that disturbing feeling. I think that is what a lot of sensitives, empaths, people doing heart-centered meditations are picking up. They're picking up like a jarring or a sensitivity, like some violent disruptive event is going to happen, because everything's connected. So it's very difficult, though, if you're just feeling this thing coming, to try and figure out, well, in this dimension, where is it actually physically going to happen? Because energetically, it's the same whether it's happening in Syria or Europe or Indonesia. If the collective, if our fellow human beings are being disturbed or traumatized or victimized, the true nature of human beings is to be empathic. We're all going to feel a little shaken up, regardless of which human beings it is. So I'm going to go ahead and shuffle to just try and see what this disruptive energy is we're all picking up on, because we're all feeling it, but we're trying to find out where it's coming from. All right, let's take a look. Where we are at right now is a country walking away from, there's a feeling, this keeps coming up. There's this feeling that old alliances are ending and new alliances are starting. That is really the best way to describe this energy. The Senate is renegotiated. The Senate is moving away from previous alliances towards new alliances. This came up yesterday. Where we are at right now, defensive mode. 9 of Wands is to be wounded, right? He's wounded. But 9 of Wands is also a feeling like I am wounded, but I have not given up the battle. You're going into a 9 of Wands mode. You are retreating, but you have not given up. What is over us? Some kind of movement. Knight of Wands, possibly travel, international, something outside of possibly the country. That keeps talking about trying to reach across the aisle, trying to make peace, this keeps coming up for the last week now. This idea that the Republican Senate is trying to move away from the past, put the Mueller behind us, put this investigation behind us. Let's go forward. Let's start talking about issues like medical marijuana. The Republicans are talking about issues that we can collectively agree on as a way of trying to get away from this president, but they have not taken into consideration that there is a growing movement within the Republican Party that they have gone as far as they can go with this current administration. It just feels like they've soured or grown cold on this administration, and they're moving on towards negotiation and compromise because the gap is widening between the GOP and the independents. It really feels to me like the Democrats are in a position of power in ways that may not be public knowledge right now. There's a lot of energy that keeps talking about a need to reach across the aisle. She keeps coming up as an archetype, the Queen of Cups, the peacekeeper, the Queen of Hearts, the hope and the fears, an international conflict. Abundance or wealth, correcting the problems of the administration's policies with wealth, the work of the budget, 10 of Wands again, with the Empress, the third major arcana, feeling tied down due to previous alliances. This is an attempt to negotiate, to avoid conflict rather than an actual necessarily. It just feels to me like there's an international trip that's coming, major people in the current administration, important people are going to be negotiating and working on peace treaties to avoid war. This may be a time when America feels that they can leverage their positioning in order to get solid treaties with other countries and to recommit with old allies. That's the best way to describe this. So I'm not able right now, for whatever reason, to pick up anything about an attack, but I am picking up a lot on a desire from the GOP to move on and begin working with the Democrats. So whether the Democratic response feels to me lukewarm. I was asked if I could look at the future of the Freedom Caucus, and so I'll go ahead and do that right now. What is the future of the Freedom Caucus? Where they are at right now, moving on, and a King of Cups is coming in. Peace or healing or negotiations with the peacekeeper, Chariot, moving on. It's interesting, when I go into the energy of the Freedom Caucus, it's really interesting in the sense that I feel like the FBI has been investigating dark money that's been funneled via cryptocurrency to offshore accounts, and then from there it gets passed on to lobbying groups like the NRA. Remember when I had said that the FBI, that the real investigation was not this president, but that the real investigation was the ways in which dark money is coming into DC and the way dark money is reaching lobbying groups. So the FBI is not chasing after Republicans or Democrats. The FBI is chasing after dark money. And sometimes the dark money winds up with a lobbying group, that's the NRA, and sometimes it winds up in another area, like, say, the Freedom Caucus. So the concern by the intelligence agencies is, number one, the growth of an international white supremacist network. They're definitely concerned about that. But they're also concerned about the fact that that a lot of lobbying groups have been caught up in this dark money scheme. So in terms of the future that I see for the Freedom Caucus, there appears to be some research on, there's some investigation again on the money and the source of the money, and also informants. There are informants within the Freedom Caucus that are actually working for the intelligence agencies to try and locate this dark money. And that means the Fed's coming in. Okay, so I'll tell you what I see. Okay, so what it looks like is there are FBI informants that are inside some of these lobbying groups, and one of the groups that has FBI and intelligence agency informants in it is the Freedom Caucus. That's the best way to describe this energy. And there are people that are informing for the FBI and the intelligence agencies who are themselves supportive of right-wing policies, but they haven't broken the law. So people are entitled to think whatever they like, and as Americans, but what they're not allowed to do is launder money, hide money, etc. The reason why the FBI is so concerned about cryptocurrency, the intelligence agencies are so concerned about cryptocurrency, is because it's one of the ways that the black market and foreign governments have been bribing and hiding dark money. And the great thing about digital currency, when the government knows where it is, when it's dollars in an American bank or when it's actual physical cash, is that they can trace the money. They've got serial numbers. The money can be traced. And the FBI's inability to trace all this money has become a huge problem in terms of global crime units, rogue governments, terrorism, etc. And it's a battle that's been going on with the intelligence agencies and these corrupt institutions for some time, for many years, probably about 12 years, if I'm picking up the energy correctly. So that is the song and the dance between the intelligence agencies and these corrupt persons. They will go in, they will investigate a particular organization, whether it's the NRA or the Freedom Caucus, not to destroy these institutions, but rather simply to try and gain information about how they are accessing their money. And so that means that these organizations will become weaker and weaker and weaker as the feds shut down illegal money sources. They may still survive, but they won't survive. They won't be able to continue to collect dark money in ways that the feds are trying to shut down. You can see a tower is moving in. Look at the cards here in terms of the energy coming around them, a judgment. This is probably some type of legal action. They may survive, but they're going to be audited. There's going to be a lot of serious auditing happening in the future with all of the lobbying groups, both for both political parties, just because it's not about the political parties so much as following the money. There is obviously concern by the intelligence agencies if foreign governments are involved in our politics, but again, that's something separate from someone's own personal beliefs about, abortion or taxes, etc. It's very interesting to be in the minds of the intelligence agencies, NATO, etc., because they really can separate one's own political views from what constitutes money laundering, terrorism, etc. And I never feel like they focus too much on the current administration, in the sense that the investigation is much bigger than just one individual or one administration. That's the best way to describe it. Okay, so I was asked also to take a look at a couple of other things. Let me just make sure I got to everything. Because I was given a list. Oh, so I'm not, for whatever reason, I can't pick up anything about that energy. So we're just going to have to leave it for now. I looked at the Freedom Caucus. I'm going to look at the NRA next. Somebody had requested I look at the future of the NRA. So we'll do that next. What is the future of the NRA? NRA is an example of one of those lobbying groups that took questionable money, possibly cryptocurrency. The money schemes go to these lobbying groups from foreign governments, and then from there they are passed on to the candidate. That's the real investigation. We talked about this the last few months now, but now we're starting to actually see some of these groups getting shut down. And again, I want to reiterate that this feels to me like a 12-year investigation. Future of the NRA. They're going to get audited. They're a very serious investigation about their money sources. Working with informants, working with all the books got opened. All the books got open. Everything got ripped open. There are people that really didn't know in the NRA what was going on, and so now they've ripped open the books. There's going to be some kind of major audit, and the people in the NRA that had nothing to do with these money schemes are going to be. It's almost like the thieves fled, and now the people that are holding the bag are sitting there, and the feds are going through everything. That's the best way to describe how the energy feels. Probably immunity for several people in the NRA that agree to cooperate with the federal investigation to open books and audit the books. They have to cooperate with the FBI, and they have to cooperate with the international intelligence agencies, because they really have no choice. This is about cooperation. They're in a lot of trouble. They're going to get penalized for not claiming all their income. Tax evasion. This is some kind of evasion, or trying to. They're in trouble due to some kind of ethical or moral issue regarding money. This is an exile card. This is an investigation card, and this is a card that has to do with mastery or going through the books or being meticulous. So, and it's attached to an Empress card, which is wealth or money or abundant. This just leads me to suspect that the NRA is literally, they're trying, the best way I can describe it is that these lobbying groups have become nest for potential terrorist organizations and international bribery schemes. And unfortunately, it's all coming out. The people who took the money. And, you know, I started this journey doing the channel. The channel was private, and then the channel just for my friends for almost 2 years. And then about 6 months ago, I made the channel public. But every time I go into the energy, it's follow the money, bribes, offshore accounts, investigations that have gone on for 12 years that are all interconnected about these cryptocurrency and foreign bank accounts and schemes and bribes from foreign governments. And it's not just one person. It is a widening problem, and it's become more and more difficult for the feds to follow the money because of what happened with cryptocurrency. One of the reasons the cryptocurrency is getting weaker is because there's been more cooperation from international governments working with NATO because of all these bribery and terrorism schemes. All right, I want to thank everybody for watching this video of Tarot with Whimsy. And I know that Miss Mila had a good time. Did you have a good time, Mila, hanging out with your friends? Or are you just falling asleep? Yeah, she's unconscious. So Mila teaches us that we need to enjoy our lives and not take any of this so seriously. All right, if you're trying to get in for phone readings, please reach out to me, tarotwithwhimsy.com, and it's real simple to make a phone reading, so I'd love to work with you. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.